After looking through over 100 cases, I finally found what I think are the top 10 cases for the Samsung Galaxy S7 and S7 Edge based on functionality and style. Not only that, but I'm giving all 10 of these cases away, so stay tuned to the end of the video to learn how to score one for yourself. All of the cases shown are the S7 Edge variant, but you can also get the regular S7 version of all of these cases. Here are a few general observations that are true for all of these cases that I'm going to say now so I don't keep repeating myself through the video. All of these cases work with wireless charging and Samsung Pay, with the exception of the Damda clip in certain situations, which I'll discuss when I get to that part of the review. All of them feel about the same weight in the hand, with the exception of the Layered Dandy and Unicorn Beetle Pro rugged cases. All of these have multiple color options, and you can see all of those by following the links in the description. They all slide in and out of pockets very easily and get little to no lint on them. All of these cases protect the camera well, and none of them obstruct the flash to hinder any pictures as far as I could tell. The headphone cutouts are all almost exactly the same size, with the exception of the Layered Dandy Folio, which has one giant cutout. And finally, there is no case in the world that I could find that would protect your phone from a drop on a pipe or a bar where it drops sideways like this, specifically for the Galaxy S7 Edge. The reason is because you have an edge screen here, so in order to be able to swipe in on the edges, you can't have this bezel come up over the edge of your screen, otherwise you won't be able to actually get to the edge to swipe in. So that's why you're not going to see this with the Edge version of the S7, but if you get a regular S7, these will come up over on top, and you will get that drop protection. The last thing I want to point out is that since there are a lot of cases here, I do have annotations on every case, so you can just click whichever one you're interested in, and it's going to skip to that part of the review. That's going to work out well if you want to compare, say, this case and this case, or maybe this one and this one. You click this case, watch that part of the review, then click this case, you'll skip right to that part of the review, and you can do comparisons a lot easier that way than trying to just kind of skip around the video and find what you're looking for. All right, so let's go ahead and dive right in. First up, I want to take a look at a case that I thought was going to be a great case for the top 10 review. Then I bought it, got it in, and it ended up not being as good as I thought it was going to be. This is the Spigen Neo Hybrid Crystal Clear, and I'm really not a fan of this case at all for a few reasons that I just want to point out to you really quick in case you were considering getting this case. I just want to warn you, it's not quite as awesome as it looks online. So the first thing that I noticed with this is that it has very sharp edges along the back here. So sharp edges along this back edge here, on the side, along the front here, there's a little bit of a sharp edge there. So it's not the most comfortable case to hold in the first place. The second is that it scratches very easily. You've probably already seen the scratches reflecting here. This is from having it in my pocket with keys. So that is a bit too much scratching for me. I do want to point out really quick that the only scratch that came from having keys in my pocket was the scratch on the bottom right. The one just to the left of that, I used the keys to test to see if it was actually the keys. I made that scratch myself with keys, and then the scratches towards the top, I ran the case across a few different surfaces, some rougher surfaces, to see how it would fare being put on different tables and things like that, and that's where those scratches came from. So the top ones are not quite typical to what you'd be seeing in real life, but that bottom right one is absolutely what you'd be seeing by having it in your pocket with keys. So I just wanted to make that clear that the top scratches are not just from having the phone in my pocket with keys. Now this is polycarbonate. That is the material that this is made out of, and it's a common issue with all polycarbonate cases. So it's not just a Spigen one, but the scratches combined with the uncomfortableness of the case really kind of, I guess, irked me on this one, especially considering that Spigen has been known for making really high quality cases, and there's actually another Spigen case in this group of cases here that I do recommend as a top 10 case. So I was expecting that type of quality. I didn't get it. I just wanted to kind of let you guys know about that. Before I put the phone in here to show you what that looks like, I do want to point out some good things on it. The first is that it's a very protective case. You can see here in the corners, there's a little air pocket, and that helps protect against corner drops. And it is also pretty protective for side, top, and bottom drops as well. Back drops are, the protection's okay. I mean, it's a hard case, not really a flexible case at all. So it's not really going to absorb too much impact, but will absorb a little bit. And then face down drops, there is a little bit of a lip on it as well that you can see a little better if I put the phone in. I'm going to go ahead and snap the phone in. So you can see that there is a bit of a lip there to to help protect against face down drops. It's certainly a lay face down on the table and be okay with it type case. That is nice, so the lip is decent for that. The buttons are okay. They're not terrible by any means. They're certainly not the best buttons, but they're not awful. So that's another, kind of good thing about it. And yeah, so that's it for this case. If you're looking for a clear case, I've got some other ones here that you'll like probably better than this one. So if you're looking for a clear case, I'd give this one a pass. And let's go ahead and take a look at the other clear cases. So the first recommendable clear case I have is the Oblique Naked Shield case. Now, this one is a two-part case. You have an inner TPU material. TPU is thermoplastic polyurethane. It's a combination of a hard plastic and a silicone, so it is very flexible to help protect against drops. And then the other part is polycarbonate, so it is very stiff and rigid. And being polycarbonate, it is susceptible to scratches. You may actually see a couple scratches in here that I got from keys as well. So that is something to bear in mind, that it does scratch probably just as easily as the Spigen case that I showed you guys earlier. But if you're looking for a clear case and you want the hard plastic clear case, then this is definitely the one that I would recommend that you guys get for a few reasons. One, it's a lot more comfortable to hold. There are no sharp edges on this one, except for where the TPU meets the plastic. There's a tiny bit of a sharp edge there, but it's hardly noticeable. That's kind of nitpicking to call that one out. But aside from that, it does have the little air pockets here for good corner drop protection. And it also has a nice little kickstand. So let me go ahead and put the phone in here really quick. And with all of these cases, I highly recommend putting the bottom of the phone in first and then pressing in one corner, then the other. For all of these cases, that seems to be the best way to get the cases on nice and easily. And the same thing for coming off, and I'll show you that in a minute. So here's a quick look at it. Now, it's kind of smudged because obviously I have my hands all over it. I guess that's another thing to point out, is that being polycarbonate, the type of plastic that it does get fingerprints on it pretty easily, just like the back of the Galaxy S7 and S7 Edge do. So that is something to keep in mind, that you will maybe want to keep a microfiber cloth or wipe this off with your shirt to keep it looking pretty nice. So the kickstand here is magnetic. So you pull that tab there, and you've got a magnet there, so it just closes and opens, and you've got a magnet on the other side there. And then you can put the phone down on the table, and it's a nice way to maybe watch some videos, or maybe, have some pictures on the slideshow or something go while you're at work. I don't know, something like that. We have it plugged in. You could do like a daydream thing, and that's a nice way to have like a screensaver or something, or watch a video. So that I do like. I do want to point out, though, that the Galaxy S7 Edge text on the back, you can see that it's covered a bit by the kickstand. If the kickstand was down just a little bit further, it'd be perfectly placed, and it would be the text just right above it. So maybe another iteration, Oblique can go ahead and slide this down a little bit to make this text exposed. Other than that, though, I've got no more complaints with this one. The buttons are pretty good. They're not the most tactile buttons in the world, but they are pretty tactile. I didn't have a hard time knowing whether or not I pushed a button. So that is very good. The lip on these, there is a little bit of a lip for a lay face down on the table design. So you can go ahead and put it face down and not really worry too much about it being on a table. But it is a very thin lip, so I wouldn't expect this case to protect you from big face down drops. It might protect from rather small face down drops, but probably small face down drops on a flat surface, maybe like a tile floor or something like that. Side and corner drops and top and bottom, I'd say that's a go for this one. I think that those would be pretty safe, especially with the little air pockets in the corners. I think you're going to do pretty well for those types of drops. Taking a look at the cutouts, you can see that they are all very well placed. So you can see that everything is fully exposed with all of these cutouts. So that is good. And that is about it for this case. So again, if you're looking for a clear case and you want a hard clear case, this would be my recommendation for you. But bear in mind that you do have some scratchability here. Oh, and while we're on the back, I do want to point out that the heart rate monitor is easily accessible with this case. There are no issues. They've even got a little bit of a slope in the case here to make it even easier to hit the fingerprint reader. So no issues using that, or sorry, not fingerprint reader, to hit the heart rate sensor. So no issues with that at all. All right, so there's this case, and taking off a case, depending on which case it is, I'll either put my finger here and press there and push out on the corner, and it usually just pops right off without any issues like that. And so there is this case, and we'll go ahead and set this one to the side. The last clear case I have to recommend is the VRS Design Crystal Bumper Case. Now, VRS Design, you might be thinking, who's that company? Never heard of them. That's because you may know them as Veris, which is what their previous company name was, and they recently just switched to VRS Design. So if you had a Veris case, this is the same company that made those cases. So this is, like I said, this is the crystal bumper. This is the steel silver one. So this is the steel silver bumper that's on here. They have a few different colors. Check in the description if you want to see what the other colors are. This is also a two-part case. But this is a different type of two-part case compared to the last ones. So the outer part is the polycarbonate piece. So this is not very flexible. I do not recommend playing with this too much outside of being on this because you'd probably break this and snap it if you pinched it too hard. But this here is thermoplastic polyurethane, as I described earlier for the other one. It's a combination of plastic and silicone, so it's very flexible, which is going to help for that drop protection. Now you can't see it here, but you can feel it. You can hear it at least here. So there is a texture on the inside to help with some drop protection as well. Now also, being thermoplastic polyurethane, this does not scratch as easily as polycarbonate cases do. So if you want a clear case that doesn't scratch very easily, this is going to be the way to go for that. Now let me go ahead and pop this piece back on. So when you do assemble this case, you do want to have both pieces already on. You don't want to put in the shell, you don't want to put in the TPU first and then put the shell on after the phone's in. It's a lot easier if you put them both in together. But before I put the phone in, I do want to point out that this does not have the air pockets here for added protection. I'm still pretty confident in this case's ability to protect for corner drops, but that is a detail that I did want to point out to you guys in case you were wondering. So taking the phone and placing the phone in, again, put it in on the bottom of the case, and then just push in the top corners one at a time, and it slides in pretty easily like that. So I'm going to go ahead and start here with the buttons. The buttons are very tactile on this one. I love how they feel. They're very clicky, very responsive. A very enjoyable response to the buttons. Now, while I'm on the buttons, if you do shake the phone, you can hear that rattling. I'm going to put this closer to the mic so you can hear it. So that rattling is the buttons sliding in and out. Now, I never noticed that during normal use. If I pick up my phone, I don't hear the rattle. It's only when you shake the phone, and you never really do that for anything, so you're probably not going to notice that in day-to-day use, but it is something that I wanted to point out in case you're neurotic about that kind of stuff and that would really irritate you. So here's the back of it here. It is kind of smudged because the phone itself is smudged, plus the back of the case is smudged a bit from my fingerprints. But I did notice that this material, TPU, doesn't collect fingerprints as much as polycarbonate cases do. So that's another bonus is, you're not going to see as many fingerprints on it. So if you shine up your phone pretty well before you put it in, and then you shine up the back of this, then you're going to do pretty good for not getting fingerprints on this and having it look pretty nice at all times. The cutouts here in the back are pretty good. They went with a split design for the cutouts, which is pretty interesting. A lot of people are doing a solid cutout now, but they stuck with the split design. I didn't really have any issues getting my finger in there to get the heart rate monitor working, so that's good. It might take a little bit of figuring out what the right way to put your finger is in, but I've used cases in the past where there was just no way you were going to get the heart rate monitor to work at all. So it does work on this one, in case you're wondering for that. The bottom cutouts are also well placed, so there's a look at those. And there's a look at the top cutout as well, also very well placed. We've got some branding here on the side. Right there, you can see VRS Design. So there's that. And yeah, so this is a pretty good case. The lip on this is very good. It's a pretty substantial lip. So if you're looking for face down protection, this one's going to do it for you. You can lay it face down on the table, and I'd say that you could survive some pretty good face down drops, not from gigantic heights, but from pretty typical drops. I guess you'd be able to be pretty safe going face down on this guy here. Again, also side protection, corner protection. I'm pretty confident that the phone is going to be very safe in this case. So if you're looking for a clear case, this is my top 10, I guess, clear case. This would be the one that I'd recommend if you're looking for something clear. And then, like I said earlier, the Oblique case is great if you wanted something with a kickstand, slim profile, and a clear case, and you wanted the hard plastic. I would definitely go with the Oblique case in that case. Pun intended. All right, so let's go ahead and take this one off. Start from this corner instead here. There we go. All right. Next up, we have the Oblique Slim Meta case. Now, this one here is a pretty slick case. This is also 2 pieces. So if we go ahead and pull this out, you get your thermoplastic polyurethane, as I was talking about earlier. Very great for keeping your phone safe. And then this is a polycarbonate case as well. But since this is a colored case, you're not going to see the scratches as much on this as you would a clear case. So I haven't noticed any scratches in my time using this, so that is definitely a good thing to point out. Again, there's some Oblique branding here. And let's go ahead and just put this back in, and then we'll get the phone in there. Now, this texture pattern here is supposed to help with some drop protection as well. I don't know how much of a difference these textures make. A lot of companies do it, and since they're all marketing it, I mean, maybe you know, it does make a difference, but that is something I do want to point out. And this does have those little air pockets here on the edges there. So if you're looking for corner protection, this one is pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and pop the phone in now. Again, start from the bottom, pop the corners in, good to go. So here's a look at the phone in the case. It looks pretty nice. This is a brushed aluminum look to it, and I think it looks pretty good. I think from a distance, if you've got that kind of down on the table and someone's just kind of walking by from a distance, it does look like it's real metal. So I do like that. When you pick it up, you know that it's certainly not real metal. It does feel like plastic. It's very smooth. There's no texture here that you can really feel. It's pretty smooth. And the buttons on this one are pretty good, pretty tactile. I do like these buttons. These are rubberized buttons. So, well, I say rubberized. It's thermoplastic polyurethane. And so they do click pretty well. So that is nice. The cutouts are also very good on this one. So, I mean, all of these cases have really good cutouts. If they didn't, they wouldn't have made it into the top 10 list. So that's that. I just want to show it to you guys so you can see it. Again, on the back here, we've got a big cutout, so you can easily get to the heart rate monitor with no issues on this one. And it does cover the camera lens very well. All of these do, so you get a lot of protection there. As far as protection goes, since we're on that topic, I think this is pretty safe for corner and side drops, as well as top and bottom drops. I do think this will fare pretty well for those. For face down drops, I don't think I could highly recommend this one for face down drops. It does have a lip on it, but the lip is rather small on this one. And so it's small, in case you're wondering, it's smaller than the lip that you saw here on the VRS Design crystal bumper case. So this is a smaller one, so it's kind of big enough for, you know, lay it face down on a table and not really worry about it. But as far as drops, I mean, maybe really small drops, but anything more than a tiny drop, I don't think that the front bumper is going to do too much for you, just based on what I'm seeing here. It'll do a little bit, but not as much as some of the other cases that you're going to see here. Overall, it's very comfortable. There's no sharp edges on this one. And it's just it's a very comfortable case to hold. It doesn't feel like it's going to slip out of your hand at all, even though this is a very smooth back. It's easy to hold. No issues with this case at all. So definitely a recommendable case. The next case here is from Caseology. This one is a pretty slick case. This is also a two-piece case. So if you go ahead and pull this off here, you can see that you have an inner thermoplastic polyurethane combined with what Caseology is calling genuine leather. Now, I can't confirm that. They say it's genuine leather, so I'm assuming it is. Now, this is the carbon fiber pattern, but it's certainly not carbon fiber. As you can see, it's very flexible, and it's just patterned to look like carbon fiber. So I'm going to give you guys a close-up of this so you can kind of see a little better what this texture looks like. So there you go. And you got Caseology branding on the bottom. And then this here on the outside is polycarbonate. That's a pretty common thing. If you see two-part case, chances are pretty high that you've got thermoplastic polyurethane and polycarbonate as the two pieces in a case. That's a pretty common thing to see. So we're going to go ahead and snap this back together. And again, there's a pattern in here, and this could be a protective pattern. It doesn't, again, it doesn't look like it'll be doing too much for you, but again, many companies market this as a a protective pattern on the inside. So take that for what it is. There are air pockets in the corners as well to help for corner drops, so that is nice. And go ahead and pop the phone in. Again, bottom first, and then slide the top corners in, and you're good to go. As you can see, you've got some pretty good support on the corners here. It's thick enough to help against corner drops for sure. Same with top and bottom drops. Side drops also look pretty good on this one. The lip is, again, this is a pretty small lip, so for face down drops, I wouldn't expect it to do anything too crazy. I wouldn't test its limits for face down drops by any means, but it is enough of a lip to lay it face down on a table and not care too much about that. So that's something to keep in mind. Flipping over to the back, we see that we have a pretty big camera and sensor and flash cutout here. Again, no issues at all getting to the heart rate monitor with this case. And then the buttons on this one are super tactile, very nice, very clicky. They don't shake at all when you shake the phone back and forth. You don't hear any rattling, so that is very nice. The cutouts are very good. The microphone cutout here is not the best aligned. It's definitely off a little bit, but the microphone is still fully exposed, so you're not going to have any issues. It's just an aesthetics thing that you're never going to see, so but I did want to point that out anyway. The last thing I want to point out on this case is that it is very comfortable to hold. It doesn't feel like it's going to slip out of your hand. There are no sharp edges on this at all, anywhere that I could find on any of the sides and the back, nothing. There's nothing sharp on this by any means, so very comfortable case to hold. I think it looks pretty good. Again, this is the carbon fiber version of the case, and yeah, so that's this one. Now let's go ahead and see the next one. Next up, we have the VRS Design High Pro Shield. You can see some branding here, VRS Design, and on the inside here you see High Pro Shield. This has a bit of a texture on the inside, which will help a little bit for some shock absorption. Not too much, but it is there for a little bit. The back here is sort of a brushed metal look to it. This is not as convincing of a brushed metal look by any means as the Oblique case, that's for sure. But I don't know that they were going for total realism on this. I think they just wanted, a nice texture on the back besides something totally flat. So that's the two compared to each other, in case you're wondering how those compared. Again, this is a two-part case. Most of these are two-part cases. So you have your inner thermoplastic polyurethane and your bumper, which is made out of polycarbonate. Let's go ahead and pop this back in. There you go. And let's go ahead and pop the phone in. There we go. So the phone's in. Now, fits very well on the phone, fits very comfortably in the hand. There's no sharp edges on this one. The buttons are just as tactile as the other VRS Design buttons that I was using on this case here. So that is very good, but they also have the same shaking sound. Again, I'm hold it to the mic so you guys can hear it. So you do get that shaking sound. Again, not a big issue because you're not going to be shaking your phone in day-to-day use. You're not going to hear it. But again, if you're neurotic about these things, then you might want to know that. Cutout on the back is very good. Again, it's the giant cutout here, so you can go ahead and easily get your heart rate monitor there, no problems. And again, as I'd mentioned at the beginning of the video, none of these cases have any issues with the flash being interfered with by the case maybe coming up too high and putting some sort of a halo effect or anything weird on your pictures. You got some more branding here on the side here, VRS Design, so you got two places of branding there. And yeah, so cutouts on the bottom are good as well. And then there's a look at the top cutout. Very comfortable to hold. Like I said, no sharp edges. And yeah, I definitely have this as a recommendable case for sure. I also want to point out that this is a very slick material, but also that there are ridges all the way up. So you can feel that all of these lines, there's actually ridges there that you can feel as you run your fingers up and down the phone. So that is something to point out. And I have noticed that occasionally I will get things stuck in the ridges. Like I got like a crumb or something like that, it'll kind of smear across in the ridge. And you gotta just kind of like take some time and wipe it off, dab it with some water and get it off. So there is, I guess, a bit of a a slight issue with getting this case a little dirty with those sorts of things, but it does wipe off pretty easily. I just thought that that was something else that that I should mention in case you're really nitpicky with those sorts of things. Again, though, highly recommendable case. There's a reason it made it into the top 10 case review. I almost forgot to mention that this does have air gaps, which is great for that added protection. Next up is the Oblique Flex Pro case. This is the Espresso color. If you want to see more colors, again, check out the link in the description to see all the different variations of this case. This is just thermoplastic polyurethane. It does have the air cushions in the corners, so you do get that added protection. It does have a pattern here as well to help protect against backdrops and also corner drops, give you a little bit of compression, I guess. I'm going to go ahead and slide this in. There's the bottom, there's the top. So fits very nicely, feels very good in the hand. I notice a little bit of a sharp lip here where it kind of goes to this chamfer. There is a bit of a lip there that's a little sharp, but not nearly as bad as the sharpness on the first case from Spigen that I showed you guys. So that's not really an issue. This looks like it'll protect pretty well from top drops, corner drops, side drops look like they'll do pretty well. Face down drops, this has a pretty small lip here, so it's not going to do the best for face down drops. It is a slight bit of a lay on the table design, but it hardly goes up higher than the home button, so it's not going to be the the best case for face down protection by any means, but still a pretty good case. I think the style of this one is very nice. This is not real leather, in case you're wondering. This is sort of a faux leather back here, and yeah, so this is also a grippy material here. As far as grip wise, it's feels pretty grippy, pretty good. It is relatively smooth, so keep that in mind. But the edges are super grippy, so you're not gonna have to worry about this sliding out of your hand. The cutouts on the bottom are also well placed, and then there's a cutout on the top there, and cutouts on the back. Again, pretty big cutout here, so that's nice. Again, no issues at all getting to your heart rate monitor on this guy. These buttons are pretty stiff. They're definitely not the most tactile buttons I've had on any case. I think that this is my one kind of real gripe with this case is the tactileness, I guess, of the buttons. They're really not that great. The home button is pretty good, but the volume buttons, I mean, they work. You'll be able to change the volume, but it's not the most enjoyable button clicking experience. Power button's the one you're gonna hit the most often, and that one's okay, so that's not too big of an issue. It's just really the volume buttons that need some work, which is a little surprising because this case here, the Slim Meta, was really nice buttons. I thought they were pretty good on this one, as you saw from before. They clicked pretty well. I did enjoy these buttons. So it's surprising that this one didn't do so well being made out of the same material. So anyways, so that is that for this case. Now let's take a look at the next one. Here is the Spigen Neo Hybrid. This is the Gunmetal bumper here. This is also a two-part case, combination of thermoplastic polyurethane for the this part of the case, the body of the case, and then polycarbonate for the shell. Again, pretty common way to do this with case manufacturers. Let's go ahead and pop this back in here. So this case, I do like this case. This also has a texture here, or a kind of a pattern here for some added drop protection as well, as again many of these other ones do. On the back, there are these kind of dimples on the back here, again for added protection, but more so for gripability, just to get some extra texture to hold the phone on. I did notice that with these kind of dimple patterns here, I would occasionally get some kind of like crumbs and stuff stuck in them, but you wipe it off a little bit like this, and then all of a sudden, hey, it's all gone. So, but that is something to keep in mind if you're super nitpicky with those sorts of things. You've got Spigen branding here, and you've got Spigen branding on the side as well. And that's it for branding. So let's go ahead and pop the phone in. There you go. Pops in nice and firm. First thing you notice right away is that the lip on the top here is pretty substantial. You're going to have good protection for face down drops. Again, I wouldn't test it and see how high you can drop it face down from, but you will get some protection absolutely for face down drops with this case here. Buttons are very tactile. Cutout on the back is very nice. Again, no issues at all with getting to your heart rate sensor on this one. And yeah, so corner drops are going to be pretty good. I don't know if I showed that earlier, so let me just pop this off really quick here. You do not get the little air pockets on this one. Those do not exist, so that is something to keep in mind, but I am pretty confident for corner drops on this. I've had a Spigen case on my Galaxy Note 4, and I dropped that a bunch of times, and the Spigen case held up well, and it didn't have those air pockets in that one either. So that is something to keep in mind. Oh, and last thing, pretty comfortable to hold. No sharp edges on this one that I could find. This texture is a rough texture, and you can kind of hear the sound that it makes. This is a good case, definitely in the top 10 list. And if you want to see the other bumper colors, again, check out the link in the description, and you can see all of those there. The next case is the Layered Dandy case. This is a folio case from VRS Design, and this is the coffee brown color. As you can see, it's a case for holding credit cards, so this is a great case for going out for a night in the town or going out on a date, something like that. That's how I use this case. If I go on a date with my wife, I'll slap my phone in here and I'll leave my wallet at home and just bring an ID, my credit card, and this is like a bonus card, maybe a gift card or something like that. I can't really think of a reason why I would need more than 3 cards because I do use Samsung Pay. So if you use Samsung Pay, you don't even need a credit card in there. So that kind of frees up another slot for something else. But there are 3 slots if you need it. And if you use this as your daily case and you want to have more than 3 cards in there, you can put more cards in there. You can either double stack them, and that works. It'll stretch things out a bit, which isn't the best, so I don't fully recommend that. But you also get this slot in here. This is typically for cash or receipts, but you can put cards in there as well. So that's that. As you notice, this is a harder material. This here is polycarbonate. So you do get a polycarbonate shell to protect your phone. Your phone's going to slide in right there. This is not real leather. It is a PU leather. So it's not genuine leather. But for the price, I wouldn't expect it to be genuine leather either. This is relatively inexpensive. It feels really nice. The leather material, the PU leather, it's kind of a squishy feel to it. So it's definitely going to protect your phone from drops. So that is very nice. Let me go ahead and open this back up, and we'll go ahead and put the phone in. So popping the phone in, we see that the cutouts are gigantic on this guy. You just get one massive cutout here on the bottom. You could fit in any size headphone jack on this. This is such a huge cutout that it's not going to block anything. It's just so gigantic, so pretty much any headphone is going to fit. I mean, you could see that, you know, there's a little bit of a lip there, but I don't think that's really going to hinder any headphones from fitting in this guy at all. So that's a nice little thing there. Let me open this back up here, and I got some cards. I do want to show you guys how those look in here. So let's go ahead and pretend this one's like your ID, and let's pretend that this is your credit card, and then you've got your bonus card in case you want to get like a VHS tape or something like that on your way back from your date. Maybe finish it out with a movie or something like that. So you got those 3 cards there. You've got some cash. Now your cash can't go in flat like this. The phone's not tall enough to do that, so you do have to fold your cash to put it in. And so that's that. And then when you close it up, it fits pretty nicely. I've got 3 cards in there and a $5 bill, and that's not too ginormous. That'll still fit nicely in the pocket, especially considering you're not carrying a wallet around anymore. So that's pretty nice. So I'm going to go ahead and take this stuff out so you can continue to get a better look at the case and not just, you know, these cards that are in here. So I'll move those to the side. I'll take the cash out, and we'll take a closer look at the case. So we got that VRS branding here. You saw the branding on the case on the inside here as well earlier. Let's take a look at the cutouts here on the top. You get this cutout here. You saw the ones on the top and bottom. Now this cutout is great because it allows you to make phone calls without having to have the case open. So you know, you get a phone call coming in, you open the case up, you swipe, you take the phone call, close it, and you can have your phone call just like this with that, because your mic is also exposed down there. So you are good to go, and you don't have to take a call like this and look like a total idiot because this thing's slapping you in the face. And you also don't have to like twirl it around in the back and hold it like that. Which is also obviously another option that you can do. So you may have noticed that it's making this clicky sound, right? So obviously this is a magnetic case, and since there is a magnet there, it holds really nicely. You can't, that's not gonna come out at all. And in case you're wondering, if it was open, that phone's not coming out at all either. I'm shaking that pretty good, and that phone is not gonna drop outside of this case. So that is a pretty nice feature there. Now, since this is magnetic, I do want to point out that this is like being super extra cautious. But since this is a magnet, I highly recommend putting your card magnetic strips on this side if you're putting credit cards in here, so that it doesn't, so they don't come in contact with the magnet. I really don't think it's going to happen with this case, but if you take a magnet and you run it up and down a magnetic card strip on a credit card, you can erase some of the information or corrupt it so that the card won't work anymore. Again, I really don't think that's going to happen with this magnet. It's pretty strong, but I highly doubt you're going to have any issues. It's just if you want to be super extra cautious, put your magnetic strips on the inside here. Another quick thing on the magnetic strip is if you fold the case over and you flip it over like this, that is magnetic as well, so it makes it a little easier to hold if you fold that back like that. Buttons are super clicky. It feels like, it's just like the regular phone because it is. It's just a big cutout here for the phone, and then another big cutout there for those buttons there as well. So very clicky. This bumper thing doesn't get in the way at all on either side. However, when you have it open like this, it's a little difficult to reach up and get to those volume buttons. This is really one of those cases where unless you've got giant hands, you're going to open it up like this and you're going to do volume with the other hand. Or maybe hold it in your other hand like this, and you can do that like this. I think for this is interesting. For left-handed use, it seems to be easier to hit all the buttons because you kind of fold this piece in when you're holding it. So that's something to keep in mind when using this case. If you're using the volume buttons a lot, they're not the easiest ones to get to unless you've got a second hand. But that's to be expected with a case like this, with all folio cases. So definitely a really good case. Let's take a quick look at protection. So if you drop it on this side, you are pretty safe. There's a lot of protection here with this PU leather strap that goes around. If you drop it on the face, as long as this is closed, you're going to get tons of protection here. You're going to be good to go. Same on the back. You're going to get great protection on the back. Side drop, this side, not so much. This is going to kind of slide up like this. You'll have this buckle here and these edges to kind of protect the phone, but I wouldn't expect it to, work some magic there. And then on the top, no, that's just not going to work. This is going to slide right out of the way, and you're going to have probably a pretty bad day there. There is protection here. It's just these two little slots, these two little pieces here. But again, I really don't think that's going to protect it too much at all. And you can see that this kind of is like a free-floating kind of a design here. So the magnet holds it in place, but it does kind of float around, which isn't a problem. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And then on this side, again, since this will slide down, you get some protection on the bottom. But again, I don't think it's gonna work any miracles. If you get a pretty hard drop, I think you may see some damage on your device there. But again, this isn't a case for super, durability, rugged case. This is a really convenient case for, going out on a date, having those card slots, and then just ease of accessibility for, having the microphone cutout there. And last cutout to point out here on the back, nice ample cutout here for your camera flash, your camera, and your heart rate monitor. You can get your finger in there pretty easily, but I don't know how often you're going to be using this case to do heart rate monitoring with. But anyways, so that is the layered dandy case from VRS Design. Again, very slick case. I do use this case and I do enjoy it. So there's that. Now let's take a look at the next case. Next up is another case by VRS Design. This is the Damda clip, and this is in shine gold. Now this is another card holder type case. And I highly recommend this one for gym goers because you'll be able to leave your wallet in your car and you can have just your maybe your ID, your gym ID, and a credit card, and then that's it. You can leave everything else packed away safely in your car and not have to worry about someone snagging your stuff from your wallet that you may have left in a gym bag or something like that. So this is a two-part case. You have an inner TPU layer and you have your outer polycarbonate layer. There are no air pockets here for that added protection, but I am still pretty confident for corner drops as well. When you see the phone in the case, you'll see that there is pretty ample protection for all sorts of drops. Now, I do want to point out that when you separate these two, you're not supposed to. You just put the case, you just put the phone right in the case without separating these two layers at all. But if you did by accident, somehow you separated these two, I do want to show you guys how to get this back together because it's really not the easiest thing. So I'm going to go ahead and separate this. I'm going to pull this guy out. So it comes apart pretty easily. And as you can see, here there are these little lips that stick out on all four sides. And on this side, you get these four grooves that those lips go into. So to do this, I typically just pick a side and I'll press it into the side, and then, hey, look, that whole side's done. Now, when you go to another side, you need to kind of press it in, and then you'll see that it suddenly becomes completely flush. There shouldn't be any gaps here. It should be totally flush. Then you move to the other side, and you kind of press it down and then in, and you'll be able to get all of those sides in as well. And occasionally you may have to kind of pull this way and then push it back up in order to get everything to line back up and be seated properly. So there you go. So that one's in. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the phone in. Again, phone always in on the bottom first, then push the corners in. Easiest way to do it. So as you can see, pretty ample protection here. There's pretty decent sized bumpers. So I think this is pretty good for corner drops, bottom drops, side drops. I think you're pretty well protected. Back drops, you're definitely protected. Look how thick, look how far away the back of the phone is from that. Lots of thick protection there. So back drops, definitely good to go. Face drops, not quite as good a protection there. There is a small lip here, but it's not a terribly big lip. So face down drops, you could take small face down drops probably, not big ones. I definitely wouldn't test the limits on this one by any means for face drops, but you do get some face drop protection. The buttons on this one are very good, pretty clicky. The power button is super clicky. The volume buttons are also pretty clicky. They're not as audibly clicky, but they do have good tactile response. Power button is audibly clicky, and again, excellent tactile response on that one. On the back, cutouts are good. You can see that you've got ample space here. You can easily reach your finger in there and to get your heart rate read from the heart rate monitor, especially if you're going to be using this as a gym case and you do use that feature. That's easy to get to, even though it's pretty well recessed, easy access. Also, I didn't notice any issues, as I said in the beginning of the video, with this flash being interfered with by any part of these bezels here. So that's nice, no flash, I guess, obstruction there. Now, as you can see, this is the clip part of the case. This is how you put in credit cards or IDs, things like that. So you'll have, like I said earlier, you got like your gym ID, and you'll have your, your regular ID, a credit card, something like that. Now, when you put 2 in, which is the recommended amount to just have 2, you'll see that this this tab now sits flush with the back of the phone. So that's perfectly flush right there because it's designed to work with just 2. But of course, you can put more than 2 in there. You slide another one in, and that works. You can also put money in, so you have to fold the money up, and then you can slide that in as well, right? So you get your money, and you got some cards, and that's all good. But as you can see, that lip now starts to raise off the back of the phone. It makes it a little bit kind of, it's a little more uncomfortable to hold. You can definitely notice this here when you start jamming a bunch of stuff in there. But that's, that's something to keep in mind. And I don't recommend putting a ton of things in here because you're going to stretch this out and it's not going to hold things in as nicely when you go back to using 2 cards or 1 card or something like that. And as you can see, when you pull things out, you just put your thumb on it, slide out, everything slides out, nice and easy, 1 card at a time. So that's pretty nice. You're not going to accidentally rip all of your cards out in one shot. They're not going to fall on the ground. Actually, let me show you that. So when I put the cards in here, I'm not going to be able to shake them out. So I can't, right? So that's some pretty hard shaking, and they're not going to just all of a sudden fly out. So that's very nice. The clip is strong enough to hold them in, but not so crazy strong that you can't get them out. So very, very nice design here. As far as wireless charging goes, it's kind of hit or miss. If you have 2 cards in there, you should be able to get it to work with most wireless chargers, but probably not all of them, and it's going to take a little bit of finagling, I guess, to get it to work the first try, but you can get it to work relatively consistently with 2 cards in there. When you take the cards out, it works every time, and there's no issues at all, which is very good to see. And if you stuff it with a bunch of cards, like maybe 3 cards and some money, or 2 cards and some money, something like that, then you are going to run into issues with wireless charging. You might be able to get lucky to get it to work, once or twice, but it won't even be fast wireless charging because it's going to be so far away that it's not going to be able to get enough power to go into the fast wireless charging mode. If you're going to charge it overnight on a nightstand or something like that, I recommend taking the cards out or only having 1 or 2 in there. Since wireless charging and Samsung Pay use a similar technology, that means that you may have some trouble using Samsung Pay if you've got a few cards in the back and some cash. So you may need to take a couple cards out or something like that, then try again for Samsung Pay, and you should be able to get Samsung Pay working relatively consistently with this case on. And that is about it for this guy. Very nice design. Really quick before I forget, here are the cutouts on the bottom, and then here are the cutouts on the top, or just the one cutout there. So this is a very good case, pretty rugged, again, great for gym goers. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the toughest case in the group. Here we have the Unicorn Beetle Pro Rugged Case. This one is made by Supcase, and it is a pretty awesome case. It took me a while to find a really rugged case that I actually liked. The OtterBox cases are pretty protective, they're pretty nice, but I'm honestly not a fan of the style of those cases. This one I think actually looks pretty cool, and also gives you some pretty phenomenal protection. I'm very impressed with this case. So as you can see, there's a clip here, and this clip is adjustable to all of these different positions, and the clip is also really thick. I mean, you can get a really, you can fit this around a really thick belt loop for sure. So that's pretty nice, and it's a pretty stiff pull, so it's not going to come undone accidentally. Taking the case out here, so I'm going to go ahead and set this to the side. So here's the case here. It's a two-part case, and it's made out of both polycarbonate and TPU. So there's a polycarbonate faceplate here that I'm just going to pop out. I'll show you that in a second. Polycarbonate backplate, and then TPU sides here, as well as TPU little, I guess little cushions, little bumpers, things like that. These little grippy things are actually going to be what touches the ground first if you drop it on the back. Give it a little bit of extra cushion, so that's kind of a nice touch. I do like that. Unicorn Beetle branding there. And then you get Supcase branding here as well. This is a very soft material, so this is going to be most of what touches the back of your phone is this piece right here, because it's raised up a little bit. So it's nice and soft on the back of the phone, not going to damage anything at all. And then this is a very smooth material. So this is like very, very soft, and then this is just smooth. So to take this apart, it's actually pretty difficult. This is definitely not one of those cases that you're going to be taking on and off all the time. You're going to put this case on, and you're going to leave it on for a very long time. You're not going to change this out daily or even weekly, because it's definitely a lot of work. But I think that does add to the ruggedness of the case. So to take this apart, there's a notch here that you can see there. You're going to put your finger in that notch, and you're going to pull out. Okay, so that's pulling the TPU away from these grooves, right? So that side came out, pretty nice, pretty easy. It's when you get to these corners that things get real difficult, and you're really starting to do a number on your fingers. And if you don't have fingernails at all, then it's going to be a little difficult getting this off, right? So as you can see, I've kind of freed the top of the case there, and you can see by I'm really putting a lot of force into this here, right? So there we go. All right, we got the top off. And now we just go ahead and work our way down to the bottom, and then you can kind of pull up, and the bottom comes out. All right, so success. We got it apart. I've had a lot of practice with that. It might take you longer to get it the first time. It took me a really long time to get it off the first time. So there's that. I'm going to put this down. So to put this case on, you put the front plate on first. So you just go ahead and press it in. It just kind of snaps around the phone like this. And there you go. So you can go ahead and just use the case like this. You get the most minimal protection you'd get of any case. You get a little tiny bit of protection on the back, a little tiny bit of protection on the front, and nothing on the top, nothing on the bottom. But hey, technically, you can use this as a case in and of itself. Not what it's meant for. I wouldn't actually recommend that. I'm just messing with you guys. Don't actually do that. That's in no way what this is meant for. It's not going to give you any protection. But anyways, so that's in. It's going to fit like that. Now go ahead and you're going to go and put this piece in. Now I noticed that putting the top in first seemed to work the best for me, but your mileage may vary, and it may be easier for you to put maybe the bottom in first. So just put the top in, and then pull the TPU over it to get it in. And then the bottom, this is going to be interesting here. So you got to pull the bottom out. There we go. See that? And then you can push the TPU on and just push it back into all the grooves there. Alrighty, so now the case is on, and you've got super maximum protection on this thing. I mean, you've got this gigantic raised bezel here on the front, gigantic raised bezel on the bottom. I mean, this is legit. I mean, you can just see how much that's raised up. It's quite a bit. really, really good protection, face down drops. This is the best protection of any of these cases on this table by far. No doubt about that at all. Tons of protection here. On the bottom, you get 2 covers. So you get a cover here for your headphone jack, and you get another cover here for your charging port. So there's that. You don't actually need these. The Galaxy S7 and S7 Edge are IP68 certified, so that's dust and water resistant. So you don't really need these. I guess if you're working in construction and there's sawdust everywhere or something like that, then these may be nice to have just to kind of help it protect it a little bit more, but they're not really needed. If you really wanted to, you could just cut them off, and then that's not a big deal. Now these don't actually go into the ports. They actually just fit snugly into the case itself, and you can hear that kind of like rubbery kind of a squish sound. I don't know if you can hear that, but that's just it kind of fitting into the case, kind of molding into the case. So there's that for cutouts. This cutout, again, ample space for your microphone and your speaker, and then ample room here for your other mic as well. So, the other thing that I thought was pretty interesting here is that surprisingly, this is not uncomfortable against my ear. It looks like it'd be a little uncomfortable, but it's actually pretty comfortable up against the ear when I'm talking on the phone with it. So that was a nice surprise when using this case. Buttons are pretty good. They're nice and tactile, very nice. Supcase did a pretty good job with this one. They're sort of a rubbery kind of feel to it. They're not like a hard clicky. There's a little bit of cushion in there, but they do feel very nice. I do like these buttons on this case very much. On the back, you see your cutout here for your camera, flash, and heart rate. You can get your heart rate monitoring in there, nice and easy. Your finger fits in, no problem. And I didn't notice any hindrance to using the flash with this case as well, not in any of my testing. So that is nice as well. The other thing here, now let's go ahead and look at this. Let's bring this back into the picture here. So when you put your phone in, it's going to fit into these slots on the bottom, and then it's just going to clip in like that. I noticed that the best way to kind of get this out was to put your thumb on this and then to pull with your index finger at the top of the case like that. This goes in any way, so you can flip the phone around, go the other way. You can flip the phone upside down, or rather turn it out, I guess, facing out. You can do that as well, which I don't recommend at all. The point to this is to keep the screen safe as well. So I don't know why you'd ever do this, but if for some reason you wanted to, you can do that as well. And again, you can flip it and do it this way as well. So any orientation that you want to put the phone in the case, it'll go. So there is that. I'm going to pull that out. You get some Supcase branding here as well, and this is a plastic material. It's just a very hard plastic. It's not flexible at all, and that is that. So if you're looking for the most rugged case available for the Galaxy S7 or S7 Edge, this is the way to go. This case is really phenomenal. If you're going on a camping trip, or you just need a case that's going to be thrown around a lot because your phone might just drop all the time, this is the one I'd recommend. You obviously don't need to use this. If you don't want to use this at all, you can just toss it to the side. Still worth the buy for this. A decent price. I'll have again, I'll have the link in the description. And again, this also does come in different colors, as do all of these. So check those links if you want to see different colors for this case here. Another thing to point out is that when you pull these flaps open and you go to put in like a headphone jack or plug in a micro USB cable, and you have this in a car mount, certain car mounts don't like to play very nicely with this. Typically, car mounts that have a fully flat back, those aren't going to work very well, because when you pull these out, it's not going to be flat anymore, and it's just going to be kind of difficult to use these in those types of mounts. If you have a clamp mount that just grabs the sides and the bottom's open and exposed, then you're not going to have any issues. But if you do have one of those mounts that's flat all along the back, then that is going to give you a little bit of grief with these. This case may be pretty rugged and durable, but it's still relatively thin on the back, so you can still use wireless charging, and you can still use Samsung Pay with this case. The last case I have to show you guys is pretty unique. It's unique in the sense that it's not made of the same types of materials that all of the other cases are made out of. This case is from Carved. This is the Galleon engraved case. Now, on the back here, this is real wood. So they cut real wood, and this is a real engraving on that wood. This isn't like painted to look like wood or anything like that. This is real wood, and this is real engraving on that wood. And they even do custom engravings as well. So again, this is the Galleon engraved case. This is pretty slick looking stuff here. They've got a ton of different types of cases. Actually, I have a second one here. This is called the Penrose Inlay. This is pretty sweet because not only do they do engravings, but they also do inlays. So this is multiple pieces of wood. So there's a piece here, there's a piece here, there's a piece here, and there's this whole big section here. And technically this is another chunk from this section there. So they do all sorts of different types of inlays for different designs and patterns. They even do custom designs. This is these are great cases for if you want to have a very personal touch or a very unique looking case. These are the way to go. Very, very cool cases, head turners for sure, and people ask about these cases. Very cool stuff. I do really like these cases. So let's get a bit into the kind of the make of the case, the build of the case. So again, like I said, it's this actual wood here, and this is a rubber material here. This is PC on the back here, and then this is a flexible rubber on the sides as well. So it's a combination of the two. Let's go ahead and take the phone and put it in. And just in case you're wondering, this is hard since it's PC. Not really textured, pretty soft stuff here. Again, slide the phone on the bottom and then push the top corners in. So this is a pretty slick case, very slim design, especially with having that wood inlay and keeping the design so slim is very impressive. Impressive stuff for sure. Cutouts are great, about the same as the rest of them. You don't get any more room for things like a headphone or anything like that. They're all about the same for all of these devices, with the exception of this one, obviously, because it was gigantic. But so that's that. As far as front drop protection, very minimal here. Hardly any, if anything, here for a lip at all. So face drop protection, not really there. Even laying it face down on the table, I mean, there's a little bit of a lip, but I really wouldn't recommend it. This is not the case to get if you're looking for something to protect your phone really well, and you're worried about drops and things like that, and you just want something safe. This is not the case to get. This is more of a style case. You want something unique that no one else has. You can even do custom designs. You can upload your own artwork, and you can have a fully unique custom wood case. Very neat. They also do painting as well. So very, very nice. Feels very good. There's a pretty good texture here on the side. Kind of a rough texture here so that you can hold it and have it securely in your hand and not be worried about it. The buttons take a little bit of getting used to. They're good, and you do kind of need to kind of move the case kind of up and down and find out where the sweet spot is for the button. But once it's there, it stays there. It's not going to come undone on you. The buttons are good. They're not bad. They're just different. It makes it a very light press to click the button. You don't have to push very hard at all. And that took some getting used to, but it is an enjoyable button. It's just different. It's one of those things where you may absolutely love it, and then some people may absolutely just not love it at all. I kind of like it. Kind of grew on me as I used the case. So that's that for the buttons. Cutout on the back, ample space here, plenty of room for your heart rate monitoring on this case as well. And yeah, so that's this case. Again, drop protection, not really there. Back drop should be, pretty good. Side drop should be okay, maybe small side drops. Again, not a case for protection. It's a case for style. And so this is pretty slick. Let me go ahead and pop this into the other case as well, the Penrose inlay one, so you can see what that looks like in that one. So there's that. Very slick looking. The black matches very well with the black Galaxy S7. Very, very nice. A quick thing that I did notice, I do want to point out here, is that occasionally on the edges here on the bottom, I'll notice that the wood kind of sticks out a little bit, and if I push in, the wood just kind of goes back in and stays in. So I don't know if it's maybe need to be glued a little better, or I don't really know what's going on with that. But it's not an issue. It's not that it's coming off and separating. It just kind of raises up a little bit, and I can just kind of push it back down, and it's fine. It's not. I've used both of these cases for multiple days, and I haven't had any issues with things popping off or anything weird like that. So, and customer service with these guys is great. So if you have any issues, just give them a call, and they'll hook you up. So that's it for the top 10 cases review. Now let's talk about the giveaway. I'm going to be giving away all 12 of these cases, and the way I'm going to do that is every 5,000 views this video gets, I'm going to pick a case at random, and I'm going to give it away on my Twitter page at TechisodeTV. So if you want to score one of these for yourself, definitely follow me over there so you don't miss out. Also, let me know what you guys think about the new setup. I got new lights, I got a new table, I got a tablecloth for the table, so let me know if you guys like this new design or this new style over the old style on just a plain wooden table. And if there's something here that you guys want to see that I didn't add yet, maybe a different thing, maybe not a tablecloth but something else, let me know in the comments below. I'm always listening to you guys' feedback and trying to make this channel better and better, and I use your guys' feedback to do that. So I guess thanks for everyone who has been giving me feedback saying, hey, you should probably get different lights, or you should probably, do a different table, things like that. I do listen to those things, and this is, I guess, evidence of that. So thank you guys for those comments, and if you've got more, definitely drop them below, because I'd love to hear about it. Thanks for watching, guys. This is Eric from TechisodeTV, and I'll see you guys in the next one.